Fingaurd, a small Viking settlement, located in Norway, between the great mountains of Odin. Known for its deadly seas, and its formidable army of Viking warriors, Fingaurd was the most powerful place on all of Earth. Out of all the 8 to 9 foot vicious warriors, there is one whose name stands out the most. Raygaar the Blackheart. Standing over 8 foot tall, with long blonde hair and a physique like a giant, Raygaar was the perfect Viking. In battle, he would wield a deadly sharp two-handed axe, which he used to mutilate his victims with. In one account, Raygaar took an iron longsword, and impaled his victim by shoving it up through his arse. He then decapitated him, picked up his severed head, and began to laugh in his face. Raygaar, like many other Vikings, had several wives. One of his wives, whose name was Lerith the Fanny Flap, was Raygaar's most beautiful wife out of them all. Every night before the war horn was blown and the Vikings went off on their raids, Lerith would bend over in front of the whole army, pull up her dirty stained handmade dress, and fanny fart. Not only did it stink, but the more it stank, the greater luck the Viking warriors would have in their upcoming battles to the east. One morning, whilst all the men were out on their raid, Lerith was taking her daily stroll down to the next village called Fingaurd, to pick up some fresh food, so that she could prepare a lovely meal for Raygaar when he arrived back home. But on her way, she was ambushed by a gang of outcast Vikings, who went by the name of the White Ravens. The leader of this gang, Jurgen the Spiteful, was known to be one of the most evil, backstabbing, craziest Vikings to have ever existed. Jurgen, who was made an outcast by Raygaar, had only one thing on his mind: revenge. On Saturday the 4th of July, 979 AD, Raygaar and 78 Viking warriors were sailing up the Great Lake, returning home after a successful winter raid. Just as their ship approached Fingaurd, Raygaar stood up, and at the top of his lungs shouted, "Stop!" He told his men to be silent. Everyone listened, as the riverbank echoed with the distant sounds of screams. The air was foggy, and as they got closer to the dock, Raygaar could see the flames coming from the burning homes. "We're being attacked," screamed one man. Raygaar leaped from his ship and started swimming to shore, but on his way he suddenly felt the need to have a shit. Desperately trying to swim ashore, whilst at the same time keeping his shit from coming out his arse, Raygaar managed to make it to the rocks where he climbed up. Once at the top, Raygaar began to search the village for his wife Lerith, killing 4 white ravens and 6 hammer bandits on his way. After 1 hour of grueling fights, Raygaar finally reached his home. He kicked down the door desperately hoping his wife would be safe. But when he entered he quickly received a sharp blow to the head. Dazed and wobbled, Raygaar stood up and tried to regain his balance. As he pulled himself up he saw his wife being held by Jurgen the Spiteful. He had a knife to her throat, and a cruel-looking smile on his face. "Raygaar the Blackheart," shouted Jurgen. "I hear you are the greatest Viking warrior in the whole of Norway. But here we are. Your village has been raided and burned to the ground. Your people slaughtered like sheep. And your precious wife at the mercy of my blade." Raygaar, who at this point had managed to stand up, began walking towards his wife. Just before he came into reaching distance, Raygaar stopped. Slowly raising his head up, looking directly into the eyes of Jurgen, he said, "You are not a true Viking. And with the gods witnessing, after this is done tonight, you, and your men, will never enter through the gates and into Valhalla." He then leaped into the air, and with one big swing he threw his axe into the face of Jurgen, killing him instantly.